So imagine waking up tomorrow and you find out the day is just a little bit longer. At first, it sounds kind of nice, right? Like a bizarre little blessing. Maybe you get an extra half hour to sleep in or just enjoy the evening. But what happens if the Earth's rotation slows down and then just keeps slowing down day after day? Well, welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to unpack the terrifying physics-driven chronicle of a decelerating Earth. We'll trace exactly what happens to our planet, our oceans, and human civilization when the very spin of our world grinds to an absolute halt. All right, Phase 1. The anomaly begins. We're looking at days 1 through 15. Our story actually starts quietly over at the International Earth Rotation Service in Paris with a scientist named Dr. Elena Vance. She spots an anomaly, and suddenly, humanity is on an existential countdown. And this builds terrifyingly fast. We're adding exactly 30 minutes to the clock every single day. By day 15, a single day lasts 31.5 hours. As you can guess, human circadian rhythms are completely shattered. We're talking mass insomnia, severe fatigue, but honestly, those biological disruptions are nothing compared to what starts happening to our global infrastructure. Now, here's a really crazy mystery for you. Why did our modern world essentially collapse before the physical environmental disasters even really got going? By day 7, worldwide aviation was completely grounded. Autopilots failed, navigation networks just went dark. But why? Well, it all comes down to a massive loss of rotational kinetic energy. You see, because our angular velocity dropped so sharply, the physical ground beneath our feet was literally no longer where satellite algorithms expected it to be based on their precise orbit timings. The geography was essentially drifting away from the telemetry in space. Navigation coordinates were instantly hundreds of meters off course, which forced automated systems worldwide to shut down entirely just to prevent a massive systemic collapse. Which brings us to Phase 2. The oceans migrate, months 1 through 3. So by month 2, the length of a single day hits an agonizing 54 hours, and the very map of the world as we know it begins to rewrite itself. Massive cargo ships suddenly find themselves just stranded on dry, muddy seabeds in places like the Singapore Strait. And we really have to ask ourselves, why is the sea seemingly draining away from the center of the planet? To answer that, we have to talk about centrifugal force. For billions of years, the Earth's rapid spin created this massive outward push that essentially held our oceans in a huge, fluid ring right around the equator. But as the Earth's spin decays, that outward push totally collapses. And when that happens, gravity becomes the dominant force acting on all that water. Mechanically, it plays out step by step. The water simply has to follow the strongest gravitational pull. Now, because the solid Earth isn't a perfect sphere, it's actually an oblate spheroid, meaning it's slightly squished at the top and bottom, the poles are physically closer to the center of the Earth than the equator is. Stronger gravity at the poles literally pulls the oceans northward and southward. We're talking about completely drowning northern and southern nations under hundreds of meters of water. There's this incredible quote from a marine engineer, Leo Vance, who actually happens to be Dr. Vance's brother, that captures what this bizarre new reality felt like on the ground. Standing right on the equator, he realized the sea wasn't evaporating, it was simply leaving. The Mediterranean totally dries up, turning Europe and Africa into one landmass, while cities like London and Copenhagen are just swallowed whole by a supermassive new northern ocean. Okay, moving into Phase 3. The dying magnetic shield. We are now in months 4 through 8. At this point, the day is 99 hours long. The solid Earth is trying to squash itself back into a perfect sphere, which is causing violent tectonic rebound and immense global earthquakes. But an even deadlier threat is waking up deep inside the core. Our magnetic field is a geodynamo powered by the Coriolis force, which spins liquid iron in the Earth's core into these tight, organized columns. But as our planetary spin halves, fluid dynamics get incredibly chaotic. The organized flow inside the core turns sluggish, and our planetary shield, it simply shuts down. And the breakdown of our shield is basically an open door for the apocalypse. The magnetosphere drops well below 15% of its normal strength. We're suddenly directly exposed to intense solar radiation, which actually manifests as these violent crimson auroras directly over the equator. Cosmic rays spike to absolutely lethal levels. And worse, the solar wind literally begins stripping our atmosphere away, blowing the lighter elements right out into the vacuum of space. So, things are bleak as we enter Phase 4. The Terminator wins, months 9 to 12. By month 10, a single day lasts 174 agonizing hours. And we quickly realize that the atmosphere is a fluid too. Just like the oceans, it relocates, migrating away from the equator and piling up heavily toward the poles. This creates a terrifying new map of strict survival zones. Down at the equator, the air just thins out completely into a dead zone. The only place humans can actually breathe is in the mid-latitudes, right on the shores of those massive new polar oceans, where the pressure sits at a dense, oxygen-rich 1.4 atmospheres. Take a look at this number, 350 millibars. That's the air pressure at the new dried-up equator. To put that into perspective, the world's former lush rainforests have been transformed into unbreathable, high-altitude deserts, with an atmosphere equivalent to standing at the absolute summit of Mount Everest. And by now, our old weather systems, the jet streams, the trade winds, they are completely dead. We're left living on a planet of binary extremes. The climate is basically just a brutal thermodynamic engine clashing between a boiling day side, baking at 60 degrees Celsius for 4 continuous standard days, and a frozen night side that plunges to minus 50 degrees Celsius for 4 days of total darkness. Smashing right between those two wild extremes is the Terminator. No, not the movie. This is the physical moving boundary line that separates day and night on the planet. Because of the massive temperature difference, freezing heavy air violently rushes into the hot rising air. This breeds a permanent wall of raging, icy, hurricane-force wind that relentlessly scrapes across the globe. And that forces humanity into our final phase. Section 5, the Twilight Nomads, Year 2 and beyond. Fast forward to Year 2. A single day now drags on for an unbelievable 384 hours. Humanity is left with no choice but perpetual motion. Just to escape the boiling daylight and the deep freeze of the night, mobile convoys must drive continuously at exactly 73.6 kilometers per hour. If they stay right on the 45-degree latitude line and maintain that exact speed, they can stay perfectly paced with the migrating Terminator line, hiding safely in the narrow sliver of twilight. Dr. Vance's journal perfectly captures the sheer desperation of these twilight nomads. She wrote, "We cannot survive the 16-day night, nor can we survive the 16-day day, and so we move." When you're facing lethal UV radiation boiling the soil on one side and absolute freezing darkness on the other, clinging to a moving shadow is literally the only option left. So what does it actually take to live like this? Well, traditional agriculture is obviously impossible. The nomads survive by towing heavily armored, wind-powered LED greenhouses behind them. Beyond that, their main food source comes from brave marine engineers who stay behind to cultivate deep, dark polar kelp oceans beneath the ice, where it's safely buffered from the deadly cosmic radiation raining down from above. Finally, by the 5th year, the slowdown settles into its final equilibrium. The day stretches out to an unimaginable 900 hours long. The equatorial crust has finally buckled inward, rendering the Earth nearly a perfect, tidally locked sphere. It's a world forever divided strictly into a ring of moving nomads and 2 vast, dark polar oceans. It really leaves us with this haunting final thought, doesn't it? Our daily rhythm, the one constant that defined biological life for 4.5 billion years, is just gone. Sure, we survived the brutal physics of the slowdown by adapting to the harsh geometry of the Terminator line. But when your very existence relies on outrunning the sun itself, how long can we really keep moving?
Please like and subscribe.